Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Storyverse Legends. On my channel, the video I upload doesn't contain any AI content, any robotics or any fake voices. So, without any wasting of time, let's go to the video.
Commander Amelia Carter stood alone at the observation deck of Outpost Helios, staring into the endless darkness beyond the station's cracked glass. Far below, the frozen moon drifted silently through space, its surface buried beneath storms of silver ice. The stars looked peaceful from here, but Amelia knew better. War was spreading again. Behind her, Helios groaned like a dying machine. The station was older than most of the soldiers still living aboard it. Rust stained the walls. Lights flickered constantly. Half the decks had lost power years ago. Earth's government stopped sending supplies nearly 2 decades earlier, abandoning the outer colonies and every military post beyond the Orion Corridor, including them, the Forgotten Battalion. Once, they had been heroes. Now they were ghosts. Amelia folded her arms behind her back as heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway. Captain Marcus Reed entered the observation deck carrying a metal data tablet under one arm. His dark military jacket looked worn from years of repairs, and the scar across his jaw caught the dim light. "You're not gonna like this," he said. "That usually means it's important." Marcus handed her the tablet. Distress signal from Viganine. Amelia's expression hardened immediately. Vega 29 was one of the last independent human colonies near Dominion-controlled space. Nearly 3 million civilians lived there, miners, engineers, families trying to survive, far from Earth's politics. The transmission crackled to life. Explosions thundered in the background while terrified voices shouted over emergency alarms. "Dominion fleet entering atmosphere defense grid destroyed. We need immediate assistance." The signal cut abruptly into static. Marcus exhaled slowly. Long-range scans confirmed 7 Dominion destroyers in orbit. Amelia remained silent. 7 destroyers were enough to erase an entire colony. Another voice suddenly echoed from the doorway. "So what's the plan?" Lieutenant James Walker asked as he stepped inside carrying a cup of terrible station coffee. "We're sending thoughts and prayers." Marcus smirked slightly. "Didn't know you believed in prayers." "I don't," Walker replied. "That's why I'm worried." Amelia ignored them both and stared out at the stars again. Back on Earth, the Senate would debate for weeks before making a decision. Politicians would argue over treaties, costs, and diplomatic risks, while civilians burned. But Helios didn't have weeks. Finally, Amelia turned toward them. "How fast can we launch the Valkyrie?" Marcus blinked. "You're serious? The colony won't survive without help." Walker laughed once in disbelief. "Commander, the Valkyrie barely survived retirement." That part wasn't wrong. The battleship Valkyrie had once been the pride of Earth's fleet. Now, it sat buried beneath layers of dust inside Helios Station's lower hangar decks. Most of its weapon systems were outdated. Several engines only worked if engineers physically hit them hard enough. But it still flew, and sometimes that was enough. Amelia stepped toward the command console near the window. "Sound General Quarters." Marcus stared at her for a moment before a slow grin spread across his face. "You really think this old battalion can fight the Dominion?" Amelia's eyes narrowed. "I think the Dominion forgot something about humanity." Walker raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" A cold smile crossed Amelia's face. "We don't quit." Minutes later, warning sirens exploded across Outpost Helios. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors while sleeping veterans rushed toward battle stations. Mechanics sprinted into engine rooms. Retired pilots grabbed flight helmets that hadn't been touched in years. The Forgotten Battalion was waking up. Deep inside the station hangar, massive floodlights illuminated the ancient battleship for the first time in decades. The Valkyrie scarred. Damaged, forgotten, but not dead. As engines slowly roared back to life, Amelia Carter walked toward the launch platform with thousands of battle-hardened soldiers standing behind her. Earth may have abandoned them, but humanity still needed warriors. The Valkyrie ripped out of hyperspace like a thunderstorm tearing through the stars. Warning sirens echoed across the battleship as the massive vessel emerged above Viganine's orbit. Immediately, the bridge windows filled with chaos. Explosions lit the darkness. Burning defense satellites drifted through debris fields, while Dominion warships surrounded the planet below like wolves circling wounded prey. Commander Amelia Carter stood at the center of the bridge, calm as ever. "Status report." Marcus Reed moved quickly across the control station. Dominion destroyers are hammering the colony shield generators. Civilian evacuation ships are trapped planetside. How many transports made it out? Only 3. Amelia's jaw tightened. That meant thousands were still down there. Below the fleet, Vega 9 burned beneath violent orange clouds. Entire cities were on fire. Dominion dropships descended through the atmosphere while civilians ran through shattered streets searching for shelter. The enemy had come to erase the colony completely. Lieutenant James Walker entered the bridge carrying his pilot helmet under one arm. Fighter squadrons are ready. Marcus glanced at him. Try not to get yourself killed. Walker smirked. You'd miss me too much. Amelia stepped toward the command display. 7 Dominion destroyers surrounded the planet in a tightening blockade formation. Their ships were sleek, black, and heavily armed, far newer than anything the Valkyrie could match. But Amelia wasn't interested in fair fights. She pointed toward the center destroyer. That's their command ship. Marcus nodded slowly. If we take it out, the others lose coordination. Exactly. Walker cracked his knuckles. Now you're speaking my language. Amelia turned toward the crew. All batteries prepare to fire. Across the Valkyrie, ancient systems roared awake. Massive rail cannons shifted into position along the battleship's armored hull. Deep inside engineering, sparks flew as overloaded reactors pushed beyond safe limits. The entire ship shook violently. Marcus looked up from his station. Weapons locked. Amelia gave the order. Fire. The Valkyrie unleashed hell. 2 massive rail cannon rounds tore across space faster than light itself. The Dominion flagship barely had time to activate shields before the projectiles smashed directly through its hull. The destroyer exploded instantly. A blinding fireball erupted above Vega 9. For a split second, silence filled the bridge. Then the crew erupted into cheers. Walker laughed loudly. Guess the old girl still bites. But the Dominion recovered quickly. Enemy cruisers turned toward the Valkyrie and opened fire without hesitation. Red plasma bolts slammed into the battleship's shields, shaking the entire vessel from bow to stern. Warning alarms screamed across every deck. Shield strength dropping. Marcus shouted. Another explosion rocked the bridge hard enough to throw several officers to the floor. Amelia grabbed the command rail. Launch all fighters. The hangar doors opened instantly. Dozens of human fighters blasted into space, engines blazing blue against the darkness. Walker led the formation straight into the enemy fleet with reckless speed. Try to keep up, he said. Overcomes. The battle became chaos. Human pilots weaved through explosions, while Dominion interceptors swarmed around them. Fighters collided. Ships spun apart in flames. Everywhere Amelia looked, the stars burned. Then Marcus noticed something. They're ignoring the colony transports. Amelia narrowed her eyes. The Dominion wasn't trying to stop evacuations anymore. They were targeting the Valkyrie alone. A slow realization crossed her face. They see us as the bigger threat. Marcus smiled slightly. Good. Suddenly, the ship jumbled from another direct hit. Commander, an officer yelled. Enemy cruisers are closing fast. Through the bridge window, 3 massive Dominion warships advanced directly toward them. Amelia's voice remained steady. Bring us closer. Marcus blinked. Closer. If this ship's going down, she said coldly, we're taking them with us. The Valkyrie accelerated forward, straight into the enemy fleet. The battle above Vega 9 became legend across human space. News of the Valkyrie spread faster than military broadcasts could contain it. Grainy combat footage flooded underground networks. Civilians watched in disbelief as Earth's forgotten soldiers tore through. Dominion warships using a battleship older than most colonies. For the first time in years, humanity saw something it hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 3 days after the battle, the Valkyrie drifted through deep space, near the shattered remains of an abandoned mining station. Emergency repair crews worked non-stop across the damaged hull, while sparks rained from exposed wiring. Inside the engine room, Evelyn Brooks wiped grease from her hands and stared at the overloaded reactor core. This thing should have exploded 6 times already, she muttered. Marcus Reed leaned against the doorway with crossed arms. But it didn't. Barely. Evelyn pointed a wrench at him. Your commander drives this ship like she's trying to kill all of us. Marcus smirked. That's what makes her inspiring. Psychotic, Evelyn corrected. Before Marcus could answer, warning alarms suddenly flashed across the engineering deck. Incoming transmission. Marcos frowned and activated the comm system. A nervous voice crackled through the speakers. "This is Governor Daniel Hayes of Frontier Colony Arcadia, requesting permission to dock." Marcos exchanged a surprised look with Evelyn. Arcadia was one of the largest independent colonies near the frontier. If they were contacting the Valkyrie openly, it meant something had changed. Minutes later, Amelia Carter entered the command room where holographic projections lit the darkness. Around her, officers monitored incoming signals from dozens of nearby systems. Marcus approached quickly. "You're gonna want to see this." One by one, new transmissions appeared across the display. Requests for alliance, offers of fuel weapons, shipments, volunteer soldiers. Amelia stared silently at the growing list. Walker walked into the room, carrying a half-eaten ration bar. "Either we became heroes overnight," he said, "or people are getting desperate." "Both," Marcus replied. The doors opened again as Governor Hayes entered alongside two security guards. He looked exhausted, his gray jacket covered in dust from weeks of evacuation work. "Your Commander Carter?" he asked. Amelia nodded once. Hayes stepped closer. "What you did at Vega 9 changed everything. Colonies thought Earth was finished. People believed surrender was the only option left. And now they're ready to fight." The room fell quiet. For years, humanity had been divided. Earth abandoned the outer systems. Frontier colonies stopped trusting the government. Entire worlds learned to survive alone. But the Dominion changed that. Fear was turning into anger, and anger could become war. Hayes activated a holographic map showing Dominion-controlled territory expanding across nearby systems. "They're moving deeper into human space," he warned. "If nobody stops them, Arcadia falls next." Walker leaned over the table. "How many enemy ships?" "Too many." Marcus sighed. "That's becoming a theme." Amelia studied the map carefully. Her eyes focused on the enemy supply routes crossing through the outer asteroid fields. Then a slow idea formed in her mind. "We can't beat them head-on," she said. Hayes frowned. "Then what do we do?" Amelia looked toward her officers. "We bleed them slowly." Hours later, the Valkyrie disappeared into the darkness once again. This time, they weren't alone. Small human ships emerged from hidden colonies across the frontier. Miners turned soldiers. Smugglers carrying weapons. Old military pilots returning to combat after years of exile. Humanity was building an army from ashes. Deep inside the Valkyrie's bridge, Marcus watched the growing fleet form behind them. "Never thought I'd see this again," he admitted quietly. Amelia stood beside him, staring at the stars ahead. "This is only the beginning." Far across the galaxy, Dominion commanders were already preparing retaliation, because humanity had finally remembered how to fight back.
The war reached Earth faster than anyone expected. For months, the Forgotten Battalion and its growing rebel fleet had struck Dominion supply lines across the frontier. Human forces sabotaged shipyards, destroyed fuel convoys, and ambushed enemy patrols hidden inside asteroid belts. Every victory inspired more colonies to join the fight. But the Dominion wasn't losing, it was adapting. Inside the war room, aboard the Valkyrie, holographic maps flickered across dark metal walls, while officers tracked enemy fleet movements. The atmosphere felt tense. Nobody spoke, unless necessary. Marcus Reed stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "That can't be right." Amelia Carter stepped closer. Port. Marcus zoomed in on the Sol system. Red markers flooded the screen. Dominion warships? Hundreds of them. A cold silence filled the room. Walker slowly lowered his coffee cup. "That's not an invasion force," he muttered. "That's extermination." The Dominion fleet had bypassed the outer colonies completely. Instead of chasing rebel ships, they were heading directly toward humanity's homeworld. Earth Amelia's expression darkened immediately. "Estimated arrival." "Less than 36 hours?" Marcus answered. Walker cursed under his breath. Earth's defense fleet isn't ready for something like this. Everyone knew it was true. Years of political corruption and military downsizing had weakened Earth badly. Most of its strongest fleets were either destroyed or scattered across distant systems. The Senate believed diplomacy would protect them. Now humanity was about to pay for that mistake. Suddenly another transmission appeared across the command table. "Priority emergency broadcast from Earth. A frightened government official appeared on screen, surrounded by chaos inside the Senate bunker. "Commander Carter," the man said nervously, "Earth formally requests immediate military assistance." Walker laughed bitterly. "It's funny how they remember us now." The official ignored him. "Dominion forces have already crossed Jupiter's orbit. Civilian panic is spreading across major cities. If Earth falls..." His voice faltered. "Human civilization falls with it." The transmission ended. Nobody spoke for several long seconds. Marcus finally looked toward Amelia. "What's the call?" Amelia stared silently at Earth's image rotating above the table. The same government that abandoned frontier soldiers, the same leaders who left colonies to burn. Now they needed help. Walker crossed his arms. "We could leave, take the fleet deeper into frontier space, survive." Amelia turned slowly toward him and abandoned billions of people. Walker looked away without answering. Deep down, they all knew the truth. No matter how badly Earth's leaders had failed, it was still humanity's home. Amelia activated fleet-wide communications. Her voice echoed through hundreds of ships across the Rebel Alliance. "This is Commander Amelia Carter of the Valkyrie." Every bridge fell silent. "Years ago, Earth forgot us. The frontier was abandoned. Soldiers were left behind. Families were sacrificed for political convenience." Faces across the fleet listened carefully. "But today isn't about politicians." Amelia's voice hardened. "Today is about humanity." One by one, ships began transmitting responses. "We stand with Earth." Arcadia fleet reporting ready. Titan miners joining the defense line. New Austin squadron standing by. Marcus smiled faintly as the fleet roster expanded across the screen. Smugglers, mercenaries, farmers, retired soldiers, humanity's forgotten people were coming home. Hours later, the combined fleet arrived near the Sol system. What they saw chilled everyone. Earth burned beneath distant clouds, while massive Dominion warships surrounded the planet like predators. Explosions lit the darkness above the moon. Destroyed human cruisers drifted lifelessly through space. The battle had already begun. Then the largest enemy vessel appeared from behind the Dominion fleet. The Oblivion. A warship so enormous, it blocked out entire sections of stars. Walker stared through the bridge glass. "You've got to be kidding me." Marcus swallowed hard. "That thing could wipe out half the planet." Amelia's eyes locked onto the massive flagship. For the first time since the war began, even she looked worried. Then she gave the order. "All ships, move forward." Humanity's final battle for Earth had begun.
Space above Earth had become a graveyard. Burning wreckage drifted through the darkness, while shattered warships spun silently between clouds of fire. Explosions flashed across orbit like endless storms. The final battle for humanity had consumed everything. And at the center of it all stood the Oblivion. The massive Dominion flagship moved slowly above Earth like a god of destruction. Its black armored hull stretched for miles, covered in heavy plasma cannons, powerful enough to erase entire cities from orbit. Every human ship attacking it was being torn apart. Inside the Valkyrie's bridge, warning alarms screamed non-stop. Shield integrity down to 12%. Marcus Reed shouted. Another blast slammed into the battleship hard enough to knock officers off their feet. Sparks exploded from control panels while smoke filled the bridge. Walker stumbled back into his chair. "That thing's eating us alive." Outside the viewport, entire squadrons vanished beneath the Oblivion's weapons fire. Humanity was losing. Amelia Carter stared silently at the battlefield. Thousands of lives depended on what happened next. Then she noticed something, a brief energy fluctuation near the flagship air center hull. A weakness. Marcus saw it too. Their reactor shielding drops every time they fired the main cannon. Walker looked at him. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Marcus gave a grim smile. Probably. Amelia already knew the answer before either man spoke again. The only way to destroy the Oblivion was from the inside. But no fighter could survive getting close enough. Only the Valkyrie had enough armor to break through the shields. Silence filled the bridge as the realization spread across the crew. Walker shook his head slowly. "No. Absolutely not." Amelia turned toward him calmly. "There's no other option. You ram that thing. We're dead." "Maybe." Marcus stepped closer. "Commander, if we pull back, regroup, we won't have time," Amelia interrupted. "The next shot hits Earth." Nobody argued after that. because they all knew she was right. Far below them, Earth rotated quietly beneath layers of clouds. Billions of civilians were waiting, hoping someone could stop the Dominion before the planet burned. Amelia opened the fleet-wide transmission. Her face appeared across every remaining human ship. "Today," she said softly, "the galaxy learned something about humanity. The battlefield grew silent. We fight for each other. We endure impossible odds, and when everything seems lost," her voice hardened, "we do not surrender." Across the fleet, damaged human ships turned back, toward the enemy with renewed fury. Fighters charged directly into Dominion formations. Cruisers opened fire with everything they had left. They were buying the Valkyrie time. Marcus looked at Amelia one last time. "It's been an honor." Walker forced a crooked grin. "Still think this is a terrible plan?" Amelia smiled faintly. "Yeah," she admitted. "Me too." The Valkyrie's engines roared to maximum power. The ancient battleship accelerated straight toward the Oblivion, while enemy weapons lit the darkness around them. Explosions ripped across the hull. Entire sections of armor peeled away into space. But the Valkyrie kept moving. Closer, closer. Then the battleship smashed through the flagship's shield barrier. Warning sirens became deafening. Marcus gripped the controls tightly. Impact in 10 seconds. Walker laughed nervously. "Well, this is gonna hurt." Amelia stared forward without fear. "For Earth," she whispered. The Valkyrie crashed directly into the Oblivion's reactor core. For one blinding moment, the stars disappeared in white light. Then the Dominion flagship exploded. A shockwave tore across orbit as enemy ships lost power and scattered in panic. Human forces surged forward immediately, destroying the remaining fleet piece by piece. The war was over. Earth was saved. Days later, rescue crews searched the debris fields surrounding the battle site. Escape pods carrying Marcos, Walker, and hundreds of survivors were eventually recovered. But Amelia Carter was never found. Years later, statues of the Forgotten Battalion stood across human worlds from Mars to Titan Ridge. Children learned their story in schools. Soldiers carried the Valkyrie's emblem into every future battle. And somewhere, deep beyond known space, travelers still whispered strange rumors. Stories about an old battleship drifting through the darkness. Scarred, broken, but still flying.
Welcome back, friends. I hope you watched the whole video and enjoyed a lot. Please show your love and support. For more videos, like, share, comment, subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you.